Final Fantasy IV: The After Years released on February 18th, 2008 for mobile phones in Japan, and eventually got a Western release for the first time on June 1st, 2009 on the Nintendo Wii. The game was released in an episodic fashion over the course of a year, spanning a total of 13 tales. Each tale presented a specific character's part in the overarching storyline. After Years was not handled by the Super Team, instead being directed by Toshio Akiyama, written by returning FF4 writer Takashi Tokita, and with a soundtrack composed by Junya Nakano. Roughly 2 years removed from After Years' release, a PlayStation Portable collection containing both the original FF4 and After Years was made. Inside this collection also housed a short game titled Final Fantasy IV Interlude. Interlude aimed to bridge the gap between the two titles and serve as a good reason to make a definitive package. Nowadays, the main way to play 4 After Years is via the PC release of the 3D mobile remake, which unfortunately does not contain Interlude. However, for this review, I'll be playing both Interlude and After Years via the PSP collection. And yes, I do indeed have it on PSP. Now, let's see what happened years after Final Fantasy IV. A dark crystal seems to release a partially transparent Rydia, who falls over. Cecil hears a voice talking to him about a new form before being woken up by Rosa. Apparently, Damcyan Castle has been reconstructed, and all of the gang has been invited. Yippee! Whatever that weird dream was, probably wasn't important, I swear. At the celebration, just about everyone is there, except for Rydia. But, whoa, apparently something's going down on Mount Hobbs, and Fubulian monks are getting beat up. So, as it usually goes, we gotta save them. Interlude has zero differences when it comes to the battle system from Final Fantasy IV. Nothing has changed whatsoever, so if you are wondering about all that, go watch my FF4 review for a more in-depth look. To keep it brief, ATB gauge is used for actions, every character has a designated class that cannot be changed, up to 5 party members, and a 3-2 split on rows. Once we reach the top of Mount Hobbs, the monks are fighting against a group of monsters and a dad bomb. Hey, wait a minute! Yes, this is in fact the exact same scenario from FF4, except that was a mom bomb. Big bomb, splits into smaller bombs, and then we move on our merry way. This is the first occurrence of a specific reuse, whether big or small, so keep that in mind. According to the monks, Young's wife is about to give birth, so we head on over and boom, child! Young, being the great dad he is, has Cecil name his kid for him. Wow, so cool. Now let's head back to Damcyan. Oh, never mind. Now there's some shenanigans in the sealed cavern causing monsters to flow out of it. So, of course, the party goes to check it out. We fight through the whole sealed cavern and end up refighting the wall boss again. For those keeping score, that's the second reuse. We head into the crystal room and oh no, it's Rydia, just how the dream went. And uh-oh, now the Tower of Babel is glowing again, oh my god! So as one does, we head on over to the Tower of Babel and begin our ascent. While we power through the tower, occasionally we are confronted by some elemental monsters that correspond to specific summons, which when defeated give Rydia her summon. For some reason. We get to the cannon room a bit later, but whoa, Rydia's acting weird. And then monsters, and then Edge. And then we check for Rydia, but uh-oh, she's gone. Obviously, the irony isn't lost on me that there's just so much hijinks in this interlude. It's so obvious that this is based on Final Fantasy IV, but what's really remarkable about this interlude is just how much nothing has been happening. In the literal sense, stuff is happening, but really not much has actually happened. But I digress. The party continues to climb until they finally find Rydia, who attacks them? She brings out all of the summons until eventually the real Rydia comes to help us. With Rydia's help and Bahamut, we beat the fuck out of the fake Rydia, who simply disappears. Then, suddenly, fake Rydia's on the moon talking about some summon system thingy? And then we're back to normal, and also apparently Rosa's pregnant? What is this? And then it ends? So yeah, Interlude is a thing. It is, in fact, a game that was 2 hours. As I stated, this was made specifically to tie the stories of the original and the sequel together. Did it do a good job? I don't know. Obviously, we still don't know what happens in After Years yet, but even with that, the only important information here was fake Rydia and 2 children. With that in mind, I can understand why this was never ported or remade again after this. It serves very little purpose for the story of both titles. But with that interlude out of the way, let's talk about the real reason you're here. The game begins with an intro unlike anything we got from the previous titles. The captain of the ship is leading his crew toward the Adamant Isle to test Cecil's son Theodore in his first mission to join the Red Wings. Once the crew touches down, Biggs and Wedge tells Theodore to prepare himself for the mission, which must be performed when the moon is full in the sky. This brings us right to the first of the new mechanics, moon phases. The phase of the moon impacts the effectiveness of certain parts of the battle system. Depending on the phase, one type of command will be strengthened while another is weakened. The commands that can change in effectiveness are black magic, white magic, melee attacks, and skill attacks. There are a total of 4 different moon phases: new moon, waxing moon, full moon, and waning moon. Moon phases only change when a player sleeps either at an inn or using a tent, or every 30 minutes of playtime. When battling, the phase of the moon on display is incredibly important and will completely change how you want to strategize and do certain fights. And right after we learn about moon phases, we are taught about the next new mechanic, bands. Bands are multi-person attacks that require an ATB charge alongside some MP from both characters performing the band. To perform a band, you must search for one with a chosen character, and then with another character, you must choose some action that will correlate to create a band. The action must come from a character that has some kind of bond with the other character, so unfortunately, you can't just take Theodore and expect to make a band with any random dude you find on the street. However, once you have successfully found a band, it will be accessible at any time if you have those characters in your party together. One small issue, however, is that trying to find a band is entirely guesswork. Not every band is performed by simply having both parties attack. Some bands are performed based on magic or even class-specific skills. This leads to not really utilizing the system because trying to find a band is harder than just using what you already know. Occasionally you are given a band purely for story reasons, and those are the most usable, but I still found it a lot harder to justify using a band over another regular attack or magic since it requires 2 or more people's actions instead of 1. Theodore continues through the cave by himself in pursuit of the Knight's Emblem. A lot of tales have these moments where you're either playing a party of 1 or 2 characters. These moments kind of blow since you have to spam through items or waste a lot of MP. Not very enjoyable. Once Theodore reaches the Knight's Emblem, he's attacked by a fearsome worm. The worm summons a tornado because the encounter is scripted as hell, and then Theodore has this nice moment where he reaffirms his desire to become a knight deserving his bloodline, which awakens him to his new special powers. With Theodore having completed his mission, we head back to Baron, but oh no! Monsters are swarming both the Red Wings and Baron! After a quick fight with Theodore, we transition to Cecil, who is trying to defend the castle. Monsters are absolutely swarming the place, and clearly the only one fit for fighting is Cecil and Rosa, so they do just that. After going around saving people in need, Cecil and Rosa head outside to find the source of the monsters, only to see... So yeah, once again, 2 moons! But let's worry about that later. Right now we gotta defend the castle. Cecil and Rosa find Sid, and eventually, Cecil tells Sid to take Rosa and escape. I can't defend Cecil here, this is a dumb choice. Then, all of a sudden, Bahamut flies down from the sky carrying a mysterious girl. Bahamut, of course, proceeds to obliterate Cecil, and that's that. Immediately after, we just flip back to Theodore like it's nothing. Okay? We get a quick montage of the shitstorm going down in multiple occasions, including the Red Wings' ship crashing, the King and Queen of Summons getting turned to stone, and the Tower of Babel glowing an unpleasant glow. Damn, rough day. Theodore is the only one who survives the crash. As he wanders the forest, he gets attacked by monsters and is about to fall in battle as the last of the Red Wings until blam! A hooded man saves Theodore, and it just so happens they both are headed toward Baron. They join forces, head into Baron through the Devil's Road in Mysidia, which is a terrible dungeon by the way, completely guesswork and annoying. Head into the castle via the secret waterway thingy, and split up to check for people around the castle. The hooded man ends up meeting with Cecil! He's alive! But something about him is off. He's acting weird, pushing off our hooded man as a stray beggar. The pair meet back up and the hooded man acts as if the encounter with Cecil didn't occur. The two rush out of Baron, but are suddenly being chased by Baron's soldiers. They flee through the mist cave and... the tale ends. That was a surprisingly bombastic intro. Everything quite suddenly went to shit pretty quickly. So to recap all of the important stuff, Theodore and whoever the hooded man is are running from Baron's soldiers who are ordered by Cecil, who is alive despite getting owned by a mysterious girl who came with Bahamut from the second moon. Yeah, A lot of moving parts and a lot of mysteries. Unfortunately, this game doesn't like giving answers, at the very least not quickly. After finishing Theodore's tale, the game gives us 7 different tales to play through. Those tales being about Rydia, Young, Palom, Edge, Porum, Edward, and Cain. You'd think that means there's a lot to talk about, but really the only tale that matters is Cain's. The other 6 are almost entirely superfluous, simply retelling the same stretch of time from 6 different perspectives. This makes it incredibly monotonous to play through. So, for the sake of both of us, I'll try and keep these descriptions and critiques brief. Rydia's tale is first, and wow, this one is a bad start. Rydia is sent away from the Land of Summons right before the King and Queen get owned, and she gets picked up by Luca, the daughter of the King of Dwarves. Together they head into the Dwarven Kingdom, and whoa, the crystal there was taken, and so were the other dark crystals except for the one in the sealed cavern, so okay, time to go grab that one. Yep, we're repeating the sealed cavern dungeon again, with the same wall boss. Again. And also repeating FF4's reason for going to the sealed cavern, which also didn't make any sense because guess what? It's sealed. So, the party slams through the dungeon and then, uh-oh, we repeat FF4 again, and the mysterious girl takes the last dark crystal. So then the party takes to the overworld and the Falcon gets shot down by the Red Wings, because of course it does, and then they do a stupid dungeon to fix it with a shitty boss that isn't fun in any way. As the party repairs the ship, uh-oh, Titan appears and is acting on his own, and we can't stop him until Man in Black appears and instantly wins. Tail end. Wow. Wasn't that just so riveting? No, it wasn't. It was either retreading old ground or pointless errands until the last 10 minutes when some actual new things occur. And that's how it is for the next 5 tales, so let's speed up even more. Young's tale has him telling his daughter Ursula she can't train as a warrior, but she wants to, so she heads off to Mount Hobbs. So immediately we begin with a retread through Mount Hobbs where, you guessed it, a mom bomb is! We save her and they talk about a shooting star that hit the earth and caused a massive crater. The crater will become a very common location, so let's just say they go in, see a grave for Fabulian monks, and leave. Then, when they get back to Fabul, the Red Wings attack, having us repeat the exact same fucking sequence of getting pushed back through the castle until the crystal room like in FF4. And then fucking Cain appears like in FF4. The crystal was taken, and so Young and Ursula sail towards Baron, but whoa, the ship was damaged by monsters, so they need to land on an island to get repair materials. Fast forward 30 fucking minutes of walking through a shitty, repeating, boring forest, we fight a terrible boss that sucks because it's part ass and part scripted. They win, and Young and Ursula have a little, wowee, you are so grown up moment, who fucking cares? They leave the island, immediately are attacked by Leviathan, the tale ends. What a fucking shit show. And yet we have 4 more. Palom's tale had a chance to be interesting since from the start, we see a grown-up Palom who matured into a somewhat neat character. But, like the rest of this game, damn is this tale slow and boring. Palom is headed to Troya to train a Trojan Epopt in black magic, even though normally they only learn white magic. To become an official Epopt to Troya, the trainee Leonora has to get to the top of the Tower of Trials. The party slowly slogs through as Palom teaches the base level fire, blizzard, and thunder spells to Leonora. They head back to Troya. Uh-oh, Troya gets attacked by Red Wings and the mysterious girl. Palom and Leonora grab the crystal and head into the magnetic cavern, which of course makes this dungeon a retread of FF4 again. You get to the bottom and yep, that's a refight against the Dark Elf from FF4. But just like most of the bosses in this game, it's both shitty and part scripted. And such scription is of course another reference to FF4. A different part of the game, but still. But uh-oh, it was actually the mysterious girl, and after stupid dumbass shenanigans of forcing Leonora to leave but then she just comes back in 2 seconds, they both get owned and the tale ends. Jesus, I hope you can see how bad and repetitious this is, and yet we still have 3 more shitters to go! Edge's tale is the first one where I didn't immediately feel myself slipping into a boredom-induced coma, but God forbid it isn't all that great either. Edge has 4 ninjas working under him who are assigned to watch over different parts of the world. One goes to the crater to watch the monks get killed by the mysterious girl, one hangs out with the dwarves to get info from the underworld, one stays as an Epop trainee in Troya to get info there, and one disguises as a kid learning magic in Mysidia to get info there. Basically all of them spot the Tower of Babel glowing and head back to Edge. The kicker is that if any of these ninjas die during their stories, they are dead for good. No revives, no funny business, dead and gone. Unfortunately, save scumming is my cup of tea, so no one died. Hey, don't get mad at me, you would do the same. Also, the first and last of these ninjas do repeat stuff. Crater place again, of course, but the other retreads upward through Mount Ordeals. Keep that mental counter running because that's another great place. We cut back to Edge, who's retreading the FF4 path into the Tower of Babel from the Cave of Babylon. Edge heads inside and slowly meets up with the other ninjas before encountering a scripted encounter against the mysterious girl and Ifrit. The party runs and runs through the tower and eventually gets cornered and jumps off the tower to be saved FF4 style by Rydia, Luca, and the Man in Black. The tale then ends. See, that wasn't so bad, just slightly repetitive instead of terribly repetitive. But alas, 2 tales to go. Porum's tale is so much goddamn nothing, it is crazy. We start with young Palom and Porum going on a little quest for Palom's sage training. This ends up with them heading to Kaipo to give their regards to Anna and Tella, before heading into the waterway where we met Tella in FF4. Before repeating the entire waterway dungeon step for step from FF4, including cutscenes and boss. Fast forward a few years, and Palom is trying to meet with Rydia to go to the Land of Summons for sage training. Man, this really feels like Palom's tale, not Porum's so far. She obliges up until the entrance, and then they head back. That's it. We fast forward again to after Palom is sent to Troya. The Elder gives Porum the quest to head up Mount Ordeals, see, and find someone there. Knowing the ending of FF4, that's Kain. And yup, it was Kain. When they return to Mysidia, oh no! The town is overrun by monsters. We defeat an boss, and then the mysterious girl pops up wanting Mysidia's crystal. Using Rama, the girl owns Porum and the Elder. Then Kain appears with the crystal and offers to give it over if he can kill Cecil. The tale then ends. Wow, that was so incredibly pointless and nothing until the last 10 minutes again! Good thing there's only one shitter tale left. Edward's tale is the last in this stretch of nothingness, so let's get it going. The crater became a thing, so Edward sent his secretary and some soldiers to investigate. After a little while and some worrying, he heads over to see if everything is okay, so once again we repeat the crater. We grab Harley, the secretary, and get back to Damcian. Once back, Baron sends a message stating to exclusively investigate the meteor crater. Edward finds this weird, so away we go to Baron. We head through the waterway cave again and get to Kaipo, where Harley ends up getting ill and can only be cured with a sand ruby. Yeah, FF4 again. This one is the most egregious because it's more than just a dungeon or a boss, it's entire fucking story beats. We get the sand ruby, save Harley, and some dumb shit occurs that I think is supposed to solidify the characters of Harley and Edward, but to be honest, the dialogue and story writing is such ass that it literally means nothing to me. We get on a random boat and head towards Baron. Edward and Cecil meet with each other and talk. They exchange lovely gifts with each other, and Edward heads on back to Damcian. Of course, these gifts are both lies. Edward gives a whisper weed, which allows him to spy on Cecil, finding out he isn't really Cecil. And Cecil gave Edward a bomb ring. Hell yeah, baby, another FF4 stolen plot point. And that's the end of the tale. Pardon my language, but what the fuck happened here? 6 straight slanderous pieces of shit with nothing but old kerneled references, sloppy writing, and even worse characterization to choke it down with. The same dungeons, bosses, story beats, and for what? To have something to fill the time? Could they not just come up with something fucking original? Luckily, there are a couple of tales left, 3 to be exact. Hopefully these can bring something new to the table, or at least leave me satisfied. Kain's tale is where I went from being bored and annoyed at the game to actively pissed off. Why was I so upset? Well, let's start at the beginning. Kain is on Mount Ordeals from the previous game, and for whatever reason, we have to descend the mountain before hearing a voice to go all the way back up to the top of the mountain where we started. There, Kain enters the room where Cecil became a paladin and begins an eerily similar sequence to the paladin transformation before kicking us to the tale title card. When we're brought back, it's when Porum finds Kain and her tale. We immediately fast forward to when Kain follows the mysterious girl and once again go through the Devil's Road, this time without any shitty fake teleporters. Once at Baron, the mysterious girl tells Kain that an audience will only be garnered after he has gathered the remaining crystals from Fabul and Damcian. As Kain starts his journey toward Fabul, we switch over to Theodore and the Hooded Man back in Mist. Right before we started this tale, we were actually given the option to select clear save data from Theodore's tale to put us into this one. If you accidentally saved over said data, then good luck. because this tale is designed for a level 20 plus Theodore and Hooded Man and not level 1 scrubs. The two go through a segment that is surprisingly unique, if not a little annoying due to its length, where they climb up and descend past a sheer cliff face made back in FF4. Enemies here are pretty tough, at least they were for me, even with my save data, and I ended up letting Theodore die and got carried through by the Hooded Man. The pair of course decide to repeat an FF4 story beat by entering Kaipo and in the middle of the night getting attacked by Baron soldiers. Because originality is dead, and we killed it. And because originality is dead, we of course play through the Waterway dungeon again with the same boss again. During this time, Kain ends up at Damcyan and tries to fight for the crystal. Edward responds by unleashing the bomb ring on his own castle at that moment, though it is futile in the end. Kain beats Edward, grabs the crystal, and also, for whatever reason, takes Rosa? I guess Kain is in love with Rosa or something? Theodore and Hoodman show up a little too late and catch a ride with Sid and Edward to Baron. Just before Kain manages to barge into the throne room, the crew stops them. But whoa, would you look at that? Apparently the Kain trying to kill Cecil is actually a fake Kain that took Kain's place. Ugh. I don't exactly know why, but this story beat just leaves piss in my mouth and I fucking hate it. Why can this fake Kain exist? Is it actually based on the deepest reaches of Kain's mind? If so, then Kain likes Rosa and also wants to kill Cecil? This is what I like to call character suicide, where they destroy what was the original characterization and thematic reasoning to make up some new bullshit that doesn't fucking matter. And oh boy, does it suck. But it's also not like this is the only example in this game. We've got plenty of others to cover soon. But of course, since this game is dog shit, Kain and Fake Kain have a little heart-to-heart, and Kain turns into a Holy Dragoon, which I don't even want to touch. I think it's stupid, that's all. The squad heads on in to face Cecil, and the tale ends. So, that was a lot of fun, and luckily for us, we've got more great fun in store with the last two tales. First up, the newly unlocked Lunarian's Tale, which, knowing the ending of FF4, will involve Fusoya and Golbez. Let's just jump into it. The tale opens up with yup, 2 moons, and on the Lunarian moon, Golbez awakes from his slumber, no armor and everything. Golbez, for whatever reason, wakes from what was supposed to be basically a permanent cryosleep, which obviously can't be a good sign. We play as him and head upwards through the moon from the end of the lunar subterrane. Once we reach the surface, we find the crystals are oozing bad vibes or whatever. Fusoya joins Golbez to find the reason for whatever is happening, and we begin to explore the surface of the moon proper. That is, until we find another crater like the one from Earth. Which of course means we are slogging through yet another crater-esque dungeon, but this time on the moon, which means nothing has changed. At the end, we find the mysterious girl yet again like always. She asks for the crystals and we find ourselves in a fight, and she has Asura. The fight isn't exactly hard though, just whack the girl until she dies. Like literally dead. She is dead. And with that, the tale is not done. Not yet. Fearing for the god of summons Bahamut, we head towards his cave. We fight through 3 Malboro fights, which, while not as bad as the behemoths of FF4 proper, are still somewhat annoying. And yeah, the fear was founded. Bahamut is frozen like a rock, so the party heads back toward the Crystal Palace with a new fear for the crystals. We arrive, and whoa, the mysterious girl is back! How the hell? Damn bitch has a white mage on her side. She summons Leviathan, but as usual, nothing too difficult to handle. We kill the mysterious girl again, but then another one spawns in. Fucking hacks, bro, goddamn. Now we must retread through the entire lunar subterrane back down to the core of the moon, where we refight the final fucking boss of Final Fantasy IV. It's not that deep, bro. Just make original content. I don't want or need to fight through the same fucking environments multiple times or the same goddamn bosses. Fuck. But of course, it isn't that simple. The encounter is also part scripted, like fucking always. Fusoya teleports Golbez onto the lunar whale, which is conveniently taking a trip back to Earth after being summoned to the moon by, I don't know, God, I guess. Oh yeah, and the whole trip back to Earth is spent replaying through FF4's memories from Golbez's perspective, which, like, I guess is cool? Maybe? It just feels very ham-fisted. But then, the tale ends. And now, we arrive at the end of Final Fantasy IV: The After Years. the final tale, the crystals. Now, here's the funny twist. This tale is over half the fucking game. With all of the save data from every previous tale, we start this final tale. Immediately, hell breaks upon the land, meteors falling from the sky, monsters swarming villages, and of course, the moon falling towards the earth. We end up following the Luca, Rydia, Edge, and Golbez party instead of the guys in the Baron Throne Room. The goal of the first third of this tale is to get in there. However, we find we can't immediately go in because of some weird pink mist, which, like most things, is never really brought up again. So, how do we get in? Well, the solution is simple and also makes zero sense. Go find and collect every single person from every single tale that isn't located in Baron Castle. That means grabbing Harley at Damcian, finding Young and Ursula, which might I add you will not find without a guide, and checking in on places like Mysidia after it got absolutely wrecked. It's never outright stated that the party should go to these places, yet you are fully expected to. It is really odd because all we are told is to find a way into Baron Castle, not go collect our friends to prepare for the fight inside. But whatever. The one weird thing that I don't like is how this section is not guided in any way, which can have you going to places earlier than intended. At least it certainly felt that way to me when I got my ass kicked at max level by Rama in Mysidia before realizing that I needed the Sylph summon, which you only get after you save Young and Ursula. Oh, and also, I then proceeded to accidentally kill Rama, making him permanently inaccessible to Rydia, which is really great considering you are physically incapable of killing Ifrit and Titan. Oh, but Shiva and Rama? Fuck them. Make it so you can lose them forever. But after that not so short detour, we head back to Baron where, yup, the pink mist is gone cause plot convenience. The party rushes in, but the other party is struggling against Odin and Cecil. Oh no, this is bad. If only a Deus Ex Machina could save us. So, you like that? Wasn't that just so cool? I know I'm totally not shit-sing right now. But either way, things go awry, cause this wouldn't be Final Fantasy IV if something didn't go poorly. And we are thrust into a quick battle against the mysterious girl with a combo of the two parties. This fight is actually a little tough and not scripted, so it was actually kind of fun. Notice how that's a first. After the party defeats the mysterious girl, Cecil still does not go back to normal. Instead, it seems he finds himself prisoner in his own body, unable to speak to those around him. The crew brings him back onto the lunar whale in an attempt to heal him, but it just doesn't work. Regardless of whether he can help or not, the whole Earth squad has got to work together and take down the moon. Right. Forgot that was falling toward Earth. How the fuck do we fight a moon? Well, this is where the final tale starts to get both interesting and insanely stupid. Let me explain. From this point on, you must progress through the insanely long final dungeon with the party, but at any time you can choose what party members you have via save points or back at the lunar whale on the surface. So, anyone and everyone who is alive and available from any of the previous tales is now available as a party member, and you can select and choose any 5 to form the party with. Like always, there's a catch. Anyone not in your party isn't getting any experience. So, if you manage to bust your way really far into the dungeon but suddenly need to change your party setup, well, good luck grinding for the next few hours. A few specific party members and setups come to mind as the good ones you can make, but it really is up to preference or equipment for the most part. Though occasionally throughout the dungeon there are encounters that for one reason or another basically require certain party members, so make sure they are level 2. Now, let's get to the fun part. Me being upset for the rest of this video. I fucking hate this dungeon! So, because this is a moon, of course, the surface is of a moon. But then why in God's gray moon did they repeat the entire fucking lunar subterrane? I don't think it's asking for much to just not have the entirety of the lunar subterrane again for the second time in the same game. But don't worry, it always gets worse. To progress through the dungeon, you have to fight the inner demons residing inside these fake-ass crystals or whatever. And you know what's inside the crystals? Every fucking boss from Final Fantasy IV! I'm not even joking. It's so many refights of the same rehashed bullshit from the previous fucking game that I can't comprehend it. From required content to even side content, no piece of the original game is left unstained from the curse of blatant reuse. Oh, and those optional bosses like the King and Queen of Summons, yeah, make sure Riddy is on your party, because if you don't, you will just kill them forever, because fuck you. So after fighting all of the bosses from Final Fantasy IV, including the 4 Archfiends, the crapshoot party you have descended with for 13 fucking floors is now probably incorrect. And this is because if you want Cecil to have a brain again, then you need to have a very specific party setup for the end of this dungeon. You have to run Cecil, Theodore, Golbez, and Rosa no matter what. And this drastically changes the battle, making it incredibly scripted, but at the end, you are given Excalibur and Cecil's brain back. So that's it, right? Right? It never fucking ends! What's up with this stuff? So, after slogging through 15 floors of fucking reuse shit, what's our reward but fucking 15 more floors of fucking reuse content and lazy dungeon design? But what the fuck can the devs reuse if we went through all of FF4's content? I'm glad you asked! We can reuse the content of other Final Fantasies too! Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 all get shit on! Because who needs originality if you work at the same fucking studio as the people who made good things? I can just steal good content and it works the same, right guys? Right! And then every time the fucking moon phase changes to something that makes a fight downright impossible, oh, I just fucking cream myself with the thought of getting to waste more of my fucking time! And oh boy, now a fight designer and having different characters than the ones I had leveled up, guess I have to grind this one up to actually be able to fight! Yay! More fucking time wasting! Man, it's a good thing the game decided to actually hand me something fucking useful for once in the forms of bands every 3 fucking floors. Would be a damn shame if every single one of them was for party members I'm not fucking using! This game isn't just bad, it's not just terrible, it isn't even downright awful. This game is the biggest cosmic piece of shit I have ever consumed in my entire life! After 15 floors of nothing, we get 5 floors of literal nothing, and then a fight against Bahamut, which, if you were hoping to actually take home the god of all, you better hope you hadn't killed the King and Queen of Summons, because yup, this encounter is part fucking scripted. And now, the final few floors are the true core of the fake moon. A facility designed to continually produce the Maenads, as they are called, beings that unquestionably follow the creator. We descend down even further into the bottommost depths, or as I like to call it, the abyss below hell. There we meet the creator, who reveals that the crystals were recording devices taking in information from across the cosmos. And now it's time to... I'm gonna be completely honest. Fuck you, God. I don't give a shit! Unlike the other times I faced a cosmic deity, this time I can thoroughly say I have lost all the will to care and now only seek cosmic blood. This 4-phase boss fight is almost neat enough for me to give a shit, but unfortunately I can't die since the encounter is so long, and rewatching all those cutscenes will give me just enough of an aneurysm to throw my PSP out the fucking window. The first 2 phases are basically just cutscene filler anyway, giving the game an excuse to waste more of our time. But we're both busy, so let's cut the bullshit. The 3rd phase has him starting to do a lot of crazy magic attacks like Mega Flare. As long as the party has shells on them, you can keep the heals up and just blast the shit out of him with Meteor and Holy. Then, once we get to the final phase, we get to once again waste our time watching a cutscene that completely rips off FF4 one last time and finally get a shot at this fucker. It may be a neat fight. I don't know. I don't even care. Do you care? When the rest of this game is such an utter shit show, would one single measly boss reform the feelings on the whole? I sure as hell fucking don't. I abused the hell out of Meteor, Holy, and a really OP band attack to make it to where the boss basically didn't attack me at all. He simply kept switching between different invuln types until he was fucked. But of course, the game can't just end. Instead, we have to run backward through the shit heap while being helped by the remaining Maenads, defending us for reasons I didn't explain and won't explain. And finally, we end the fuck out of this godforsaken Final fucking Fantasy. So, after everything we've been through, the ups, the downs, the turnarounds, the hijinks that ensued, and the plot nonsense that accrued, what have we learned? If you've learned anything, it's that the line I just said came from my Final Fantasy IV video. I simply cannot believe the level of incompetency on display in this game. Seriously, with every single step, I'm met with more thoughts of, what the hell were they thinking? The original content is mad best, the original story feels laughably inconsistent or downright flawed, and almost the entire game is both the game and I agreeing that we would rather play a good game like Final Fantasy IV. And when push came to shove, they gave up on even remotely having original ideas by stealing from previous titles and spoiling future ones. I get that this game was made in 2008, way past the initial releases of 5 and 6, but that doesn't matter, because on the number line, this game comes before those. It's one thing to make a game all about Final Fantasy's greatest hits, but it's another thing to blaspheme your own character's lore and game. I have never in my life played a game this egregiously bad. So much worse than Final Fantasy I that the contest wasn't even close. I hope that every person who worked to make this game as shitty and disgustingly awful as it was is permanently ashamed of themselves. I wanted a sequel to FF4. Not a 35-hour-long coma. Making a game this blatantly foul requires knowing that you are making an already bad game and actively choosing the road of making it worse. It's not something done by accident. Trust me, I've played games that were. Final Fantasy IV The After Years is the worst Final Fantasy ever made, and may God let that statement stay true for the rest of time. We're done. Sorry this took so long to come out. As you can tell, I had difficulties writing and creating this review. I hope it was worth the wait. If you liked it, then please subscribe, as you might hear more screams of pure disgust and rage from terrible titles in the future, though for now, let's hope that I get to start praising games again. If you want to watch my suffering live, you can follow me on Twitch, where I plan to continue playing the Final Fantasy series and maybe some more games later on. Lastly, if you liked my unfiltered anger or my schizo editing, a few bucks on Patreon would mean a hell of a lot. Lord knows this video isn't getting any money anyway. Thanks to those who already do support me, including Nyx, Hero, and Ori Boros. Please, let FF5 be good to me.